our current salesperson and them not performing. So we have since let that person go.
When I look at my business, it's all about the lack of sales that we've had.
It's how we hired this person and what is the expectation. Because the expectation is not that we are filtering you and giving you all the leads.
Everybody that we've hired that has not been in the office doesn't really work for us.
I think the best salespeople do not want to make cold calls. If we went overseas, we pay someone $8 an hour. Instead of paying a high salary, high wage, you get someone that is, driving. I think the solution is here.
Okay, here we go on another episode. This one is our Freedom Builders calls. This is our monthly coaching calls with our clients in our core program. Guys, pause this video, grab yourself a piece of paper, a pen, get ready to take some notes. This one is going to be good.
Our current salesperson and them not performing. So we have since let that person go, and Gary's been doing everything.
Gary, are you there?
Yeah.
You probably can sell this thing with eyes closed sort of thing, right? So I get that. What happened with the salesperson?
He was scamming us.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
He was on a high salary and he was sitting at home doing nothing. You're trying to depend on someone and you're trying to give everything.
So are you looking to then replace right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Gary doesn't have time to be doing all the sales.
Oh, gosh. And the truth is, if we're really doing our job in sales the way it needs to be done fully, that's a full-time job itself. It's not running the business and selling on the side.
So I went through a lot of the stuff that you have available on 4Level through the website. I printed off a bunch of stuff with some sample interview questions, things like that. And we even used this, your evaluation, because we did interview one person. I posted a job on Indeed. We spent probably a couple $100 on it and had one interview.
A lot of resumes, but nobody really decent.
Nobody that has any experience at all. They work at Taco Bell or they work at the gas station.
Yeah.
People see a rate of pay and then they just want to apply. So that's not working for us.
I wouldn't say it won't work. It can work, but yeah, it's a process for sure.
And it's an expensive process to go through.
Does this salesperson need to be in the office? What's the role?
It could be virtual. It doesn't have to be in the office. What we've experienced is everybody that we've hired that has not been in the office doesn't really work for us. They kind of slack off and do their own thing. They're not being held accountable and they're not accountable for the measures that we want them to do.
Yeah. And sometimes that is, or can be, I'm not saying it is, but it can be on us still.
And that's why I said they're not being held accountable. I don't want to have to babysit people.
We do, especially in that first 90 days of training, and we are supposed to be helping them succeed as much as possible.
Absolutely. We bring, every time we've had people, even with our last person, they lived in Canada. We flew him in. He spent a couple weeks here learning about our fixtures, how we do things. We gave him a computer, a credit card, a company car, all this stuff. And then he went home and he just kind of, in the beginning, he was making calls, made a few sales. But then as time went on, I feel like we get people that are very comfortable with a base salary.
Yeah.
And they have a million excuses for why there's not sales, why there's not this. But when I have to sit there and dig into their call log and see they're making 10 calls a month or check their emails and they're not getting emails. And that's been our experience every time we've hired someone and haven't had them come into the office.
Right. When they're in the office, you have a different experience because they're in there every day and now they're actually working.
So it's not that it can't be remote. It could be remote. It could be virtual with the right person who really wants to help the company grow and succeed and make commission off of that.
Right. And it could also be the pay structure, how we're setting up pay structure. So we might want to talk about that a little bit too. Maybe we start with a salary, but it declines over time and the commission has to exceed that at a certain point. And that can be fairly early on too. And which company are we referring to here, guys? That's like, because again, who you're selling to is anywhere in North America, right?
Yeah, it's all over the world. We have them in Dubai. We have them at
Hey, if you like this video, remember to hit that subscribe button, grab your hammer, and hit the bell so you don't miss any more of these videos.
Are they mostly finding their own opportunities through cold call?
With our last person, he kept asking us for lead. We gave him every prior customer we had, we gave them, anything that we had readily available. But I can't have her spending her time looking up leads when this person isn't even making 10 calls a month.
Yeah. Well, and again, it's how we hired this person and what is the expectation. Because the expectation is not that we are filtering you and giving you all the leads. Now, of course, leads come in, that probably that person is taking that opportunity.
Everyone was forwarded and has done.
Right. But we're also saying we need a salesperson that can actually drive more opportunity than we have coming in leads.
Exactly.
That's why we hired you.
We had one person that lived in South Carolina, someone in Canada, someone in Southern Michigan. We'd had multiple people remotely, and they all do the same thing. The guy in South Carolina, we paid a ton of money for through a recruiting agency specifically for lighting professionals. And when he would visit a rep, Gary just visited a rep, and they're like, that guy was kind of out there. He didn't even know what he was talking about. That doesn't make us look good.
Yeah, we paid 30 grand for recruiting agency that does nothing but recruit people in the lighting industry. This guy, it was a big talk, but no.
I gotta say, I've gone through similar thing with salespeople, early on years ago at this point, but man, a lot of people can talk their way into it, but can't deliver. So this is why I've shifted my whole mindset to if someone is selling, how are they selling? How do we pay them? What is the package and the bonus structure, the commission? Because that's going to have a lot to do with. And then how are we training them? Because our training is going to also have a big part, to do with their success. And then our evaluation system for them. So what are we doing on a weekly and monthly basis? So are we getting EODs or end of day reports? How often? Because a good salesperson needs a daily or an end of day report where they can talk about what they got, how many new leads, new conversations, new opportunities. And we do EODs every day. Then we get down to weekly. So how do we do on a weekly basis? We have at least weekly sales meetings with them, probably daily in the beginning.
And I did have them weekly with Jason when he was here. I did have them weekly, and then monthly we called it bookings versus billing. So how many jobs got booked versus how many got billed out, and we compared it to the year prior. We were basing it off a 20% increase from the year prior. So we would this is where we are for this year and this month. So every month we would do that. But then every week, hey, what's going on for the week? Is there anything you're lacking? What do you need from me? How can I help you with this? What do you need from Gary? And then I would take care of anything that he needed in the office. A lot of times it was, I'm just making phone calls, just waiting on people to call back. So I did have that in my calendar booked off, that we are. Yeah.
We can talk a bit more about structure, but here's another thing. I think the best salespeople do not want to make cold calls. Cold calls is not fun. It's very hard, and we can lose people probably fairly quickly in the process. I wonder, I'm just throwing this out there based on your business and what you're currently doing. Gary, if you had the leads coming in, at least for the time being, would you be able to manage some of the new business and not have to cold call yourself?
Absolutely.
Right? So the reason I ask this is because I wonder if we should think of a new structure and say, look, we might be able to leverage, and here's why I say this. I've recently witnessed, so we're working with Contractor Staffing Source, and Contractor Staffing is a partner of ours. They help contracting businesses, builders, remodelers, trades, contractors, staff their teams. They're not a recruiting service like they pay them 10, 30 grand to find someone or a percentage. Not a temp agency either.
Okay.
What they are is they will, for, I'm going to call it $2,000 a month, pay them $2,000 a month over the course of whatever time you want to hire someone, and they will find people. How they're set up, and I'm not suggesting you even need to go and use them. I bring this up because I am currently using them. What I have found is they have set themselves up with some people they work with overseas. So they're paying very little money, overseas people, for very low dollars per hour, but that really are driven and work their ass off. And they work very hard and really very diligent. If it's a matter of teaching them, cold call and getting new leads to the table, then I would be very interested to see if you could find someone like that, because essentially you need cold calls done. You need an endless amount of cold calls. You need to be driving new traffic like crazy. consistently, day in and day out. Yeah, and to be able to handle, rejection constantly and dial, and that's not an easy task. So again, it comes down to dollars and cents. If you found someone that is interested in that, they don't even have to go close the sale. If we went overseas, we pay someone $8 an hour. I think you pay between $6 and $8 or something like that an hour. Like literally. Instead of paying a high salary, high wage, you get someone that is, driving. Now, here's the thing. To me, if they find you good new opportunities that turn into clients or even just good opportunities, the more of those they find you, give them an extra X dollars, incentivize them to do more for you. Even if you ended up paying them $15 an hour, which would be like a double their wage. It would be huge for them, but they would only get that if they're delivering results like crazy. It would be enormous for them, right? It would be enormous for you. It'd be a big win-win. If you tried this model and Gary was able to handle the opportunities that this person could generate, because it's going to take a lot of calls, then you test that out. Then you don't have to find your next new salesperson today. You make sure the system would work. If you can change the system, leverage that, teach and train them how to do this. We give them script to be able to do that, right? So what do you want them to say? How do they answer this properly? Basically need to feed them and get them set up to be able to do this. No matter what you do, if you find any good salesperson, they're going to struggle with the number of cold calls that we expect. They're never going to perform at that level that you want them to. So it's almost like we need that team, low paid person to drive opportunities, the hired person to come in and deal with the lead, which is what this guy wanted. He wanted more leads. He wanted more opportunities. He didn't want a cold call. If I'm in your shoes right now, knowing what I know of dealing with contractor staffing and seeing how their team operates overseas for them, I'd test that. You can find your own people overseas. I'd have to figure out how we go about doing that. However, how you can do it, get in touch with contractor staffing. They will find you huge, that's what they do. And literally, it would cost you about $2,000 to do it. And to me, that would be worth its weight in gold.
So I tried to Google them just now, and the thing that came up was contractorstaffingsource.com.
Black and yellow logo. And what's interesting, the owner, Paul, he's in Hawaii, and then they have their staff in the US, and then they have overseas assistants and people helping them with stuff. They have done a really good job with their system. Their process it's very, very good. And it's very reasonably priced. And especially if you're looking for someone overseas, that's even easier for them. Let's say you try this for 3 months, 60-day, test the water, see what this person generates. If this person does their job, you have figured out something that, your competitors probably aren't doing, and they're going to get a lot more opportunity here. Now you go get that person that wants the opportunities and cannot, you're going to burn them out cold calling. The big question though, Gary, is in the meantime, can you continue to fill the sales shoes until you know the system is working?
Absolutely. Not a problem.
And then, of course, just making all that happen and making sure, worst case scenario, this doesn't work at all. Or a second worst case scenario, it works so damn good that Gary gets overwhelmed and he can't handle it. And now you got to find your other salesperson. But I'd rather have that issue.
Absolutely.
So you just gave me another insight here. For the cost of that overseas labor, if I'm you and I really want to ramp this up and I know what we can do, I would consider starting 2 of them at the same time and then having a bit of a contest to see who can actually drive more, make more calls, and get more opportunities to the table. Because for the cost, the cost is insignificant.
Absolutely. If it brings us more sales, and it's already way cheaper than hiring one person,
So why not just have 2 that are just constantly going and they drive that day in and day out? Look, this isn't going to be a perfect science and every one of them is going to be amazing. You still might have to go through an iteration or 2 of getting the right person. But if we start with 2, we got a better odds. I think I might go down that road, right?
Yeah.
Again, we're talking about $6 to $8 an hour here. So now we're talking 12 to 16. We're under $20 an hour to have 2 people going full bore.
Exactly.
Yeah. My goal for this year was to hit 2,000 fixtures. Where are we at right now, Angie?
1534.
And that's with 4 months of not having anything coming in. I think if it was a regular year, I would have hit that. And that was just
That's
me.
without this model. Imagine if you have two people making calls. Maybe you do 3,000 fixtures.
I can do that production-wise easily.
And if that's the case, you're now doing 3,000 and you're now making fixtures for $50 because you don't have these lulls of we're not busy, which that is killing us. And so our fixture cost goes up. They take more time. They're stretching it out. You know, that's human nature. Our job is to keep them busy so that doesn't happen. I think going into next year, though, you're going to see this. With that being said, let's prep for it and let's knock the shit out of this thing.
Sounds like a plan. When I look at my business, it's all about the lack of sales that we've had. We have fantastic product. I have the best lighting fixtures on the market by far, but it's just having someone calling on people.
I'm excited, honestly. This is how to get this done. I think the solution is here. For you guys, I think they can help you build that sales team, but do it overseas. You might have to get them a proper number. Again, contractor staffing will probably suggest they have like an American number that they're using to make calls. You have to set them up, and of course, training, right? Getting them the right script, right? Knowing how to answer objections or, things that might come up for them. Best of luck with that. Good to see you guys.
You too.
Have a good Thanksgiving.
Cheers. Yeah, you too.
Imagine doing one of these calls on a monthly basis with either myself or our team. Guys, if you want to check it out and learn how to become a Freedom Builder in our core program, jump into that description, book a call with us, and we'll see you on the other side.